Thanks for joining us on Behind the Spotlight. I am Crystal Lampitt, and you know, here on Behind the Spotlight, we love to feature local artists. We have a Kansas City native neo-soul singer, Bukeka Style, in the house. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we are going to kick it off with your song, Just Like the Phoenix, and it is off of your latest EP, your fourth EP, which is called?
Just Like the Phoenix.
It is called Just Like the Phoenix.
Yes.
There you go. Easy to remember.
Yes.
All right, Just Like the Phoenix by Bukeka Style.
Thank you.
There's no mystery or myth as to how long I've been doing this, inspiring possibly in the millions, those I will never see. I've been consistent in my game, but now I'm ready for a change. It's time to let go of the old me and rise again. Just like the phoenix, I'm rising from the ashes. It's time to change my story, step into my glory, no longer defined by what's behind me. Just like the phoenix, lost inside the blaze, is the old me that sizzled away. It's a new day, maintaining my beauty, but it's a new me. And now it's time to fly. And now it's time to fly. And I am not alone when I say I do believe there is nothing too great for me, and time is on my side, because no matter the time of my life, I can always fly. Just like the phoenix, I'm rising from the ashes. It's time to change my story, step into my glory, no longer defined by what's behind me. Just like the phoenix, all lost inside the blaze, is the old me that sizzled away. It's a new day, maintaining my beauty, but it's a new me. And now it's time to fly. And now it's time to fly. And now it's time to fly. And now it's time to fly.
And that was Just Like the Phoenix by Bukeka Style, and that song is on your latest EP, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about Just Like the Phoenix. What inspired that song?
Well, I believe a part of it is the rebranding that I'm in the process of going through. That it is an opportunity for me to expand my horizons, so to speak, and that's the goal of where I am in my career right now, to expand the territory, to expand the airplay, to do all of those things that, you know, an artist really wants to do. And but I also feel that it's very indicative of how people really want to, when they're in the process of making a change, they want to just rise and be, you know, beautiful and everything that they really want to show up as in the world. So
yeah, it sounds like it's empowering, and it's also kind of alluding to almost a rebirth, which you mentioned rebranding, and I'm curious what led to you deciding I want to give this a fresh start?
Yeah.
What made you think, like, let's change things up?
Well, I have had a long-standing career in jazz. I've also written a lot of inspirational music, which I've performed around the world, and I really wanted to expand my market.
Yeah.
You know, I love doing what I do from a perspective of this is my purpose, this is my passion, and it's also my business. Yeah. And I really want to get out there more and have more people hear what I'm doing.
So you're going from a more classic jazz to a neo-soul.
Yes.
And what has inspired you from going to jazz to neo-soul? Are there artists? Are there people in your life? What made you decide, okay, this is the path. This is what we're going to change?
I think one of my favorite artists is Lettucey.
Okay.
And she has created some beautiful works that are very traditional, lots of scatting, you know, as far as traditional jazz. And but on the music that she just put out recently, it's more of a neo-soul R&B. And it was really interesting to see how well she was able to do that. Lyrically, neo-soul music and R&B music just has more up-to-date content, actually. Sure. And so it allows me to talk about things that I normally wouldn't talk about or sing about when I'm performing, you know, jazz standards, you know, written by other people. So I love the different artists that have really brought that R&B, but also that soul back into it. I'm originally from Detroit. I was born in Michigan, and so the Motown era, you know, was definitely telling a lot of stories and a lot of fun and dance and things of that nature. And so I just want to express that.
Sounds like, you know, it's the kind of mixing the old with the new, which makes sense in a rebrand.
Exactly.
So. Yeah. All right, great. Well, thank you so much for being here. We will be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
I find myself smiling just because I feel so free.
Welcome back to Behind the Spotlight. In the house tonight, we've got Bukeka Style, which leads to my next question, which is Bukeka. Is that your real name?
It is my real name.
Okay.
However, my parents named me Gretchen Elizabeth when I was born, which is a fine name, but after a few years, I was just like, you know, this is not me.
Gretchen.
Gretchen, yes. So my parents were both very active in civil rights, and we were meeting a lot of people from different countries, and I wanted an African name.
Yeah.
So they found me a book of African names, and I found Bukeka, which is spoken in South Africa in the language of Xhosa.
Okay.
And
I know what you're talking
you know
about.
what I'm talking about?
It's a very difficult language.
It is. I didn't get the click in there. I didn't get the click. Yeah,
I know. I can't do it.
I can't do it.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
But it means beautiful or gorgeous, but the thing that caught my attention was that it was typically named for princesses. Now, I'm doing this when I'm 6
Oh,
years
of course.
old.
You're like, I want to be a princess.
I want to be a princess.
Yeah.
Everything in my room is pink. You know, I'm a princess. And so I chose that name and had it legally changed. My middle name is Bosede, which means born on Sunday, because I was born on Sunday.
There you go.
So,
when did you have it legally changed?
When I was 6.
When you were 6?
Yeah.
Wow, so your parents were on board. They were just
they were on board. They were like, why didn't we think of that? I'm like, exactly.
So did that help you develop your artistry? Did you feel like now I really embody this name? Did that lead you, inspire you along a musical path?
Well, I was always on a musical path.
Yeah.
My mother is a coloratura soprano, so she taught me everything about music. But in terms of what I found was the significance of it, when I started to give performances and tell people, yes, my name was Gretchen Elizabeth when I was born, and I changed it when I was 6. And they would say, you did that when you were 6?
That's what I'm getting at, is to be so aware at 6 years old of who you want to be, your identity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so interesting.
Well, it was pretty interesting. So that's when it started to really click. And so my first CD, it was self-entitled Bukeka. And I think that, you know, gave it some traction because people were like, you know, what is this name for one thing? And then who was the singer behind it?
Absolutely.
So it's definitely unique, and so that gives me a little advantage as far as people being able to identify with who I am. And it's not very easy. It's easy to pronounce, but people see it and they have to kind of work through it. So it gives me some time to converse about it. You know, I tell people, if you think of a bouquet of flowers and you add a ka.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think that is important with sort of, you know, it gives you some significance and they remember you because of the name. And actually, and it's a very, very smart branding strategy as well, because you want to be unique. You want people to remember you.
Right.
And you do have a lot of roles. I mean, besides singing, you're involved in, you're a CEO of your own company.
Yes.
Tell us about the Propeller Project.
The Propeller Project, my sister and I, who is a pilot, we started because we really wanted to help individuals who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur. My sister does have some entrepreneurial type of endeavors, but we see how difficult it is to get loans, to understand what it takes to move from idea to actual having something on the shelf, that type of thing, and having mentorship and things of that nature. But the main thing is, you know, if you just have a little bit of seed money to get a computer or get your marketing materials together. So the Propeller Project is a not-for-profit that is designed to help and primarily women, you know, and single moms who may have an idea with their kids. You see a lot of that nowadays. I started this company because my kids and I were working together and so forth, but they may not have the resources. So this is just designed to provide some micro funding for individuals in that situation, and to also create generational entrepreneurship so that your family is involved, your kids are involved, and they then can create some self-sustaining measures for themselves. You know, we live in a very changing world, and if they have some skills that will allow them to be more self-sufficient, then that can't hurt them.
Yeah, and I think it's very important to empower people to be able to support themselves, and that's such a great contribution to the community. I do know that at one point you were considering leaving this wonderful city of Kansas City. What was happening there? What made you decide to stay?
Well, I've been in Kansas City for a long time, and I thought that after ending a significant relationship in my life, that if I moved, then I could just start over.
Fresh start.
It's fresh start. My son was going to Ithaca College in New York, so I thought I'll just move out there with you know, be in that area, and that was my story. Well, I met a gentleman, and he was just the light of my life, and he said, you know, you don't want to leave. You don't want to go anywhere. And he ended up being
started
very
planting the seed.
Yes, he did. Right. And I'm very glad I stayed. I mean, Kansas City is a beautiful place. It's a lovely place. I have lots of roots here. And it was simply, I think, just a matter of where I was emotionally at the time. But thank goodness he brought me back around.
He reeled you back in. You were like, nope, nope, you're not leaving. You're staying.
Right.
It is a great city, and we're glad
to
have you.
I'm
because
glad to be here.
We get to enjoy the talent that you bring to the city now too.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I do want to get to your 4 favorites. So I hope you've had some time to think. First off, what is your favorite book?
My favorite book is The Secret Life of Bees. It's one of those books where you get to the last chapter and you're like, this can't be the last chapter, and you just start reading it all over again. It's a lovely book. And the movie was wonderful as well. Queen Latifah was in it, and but it was just it's a great book. It's my favorite book.
Yeah, that's a popular one for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and then your favorite movie?
That's been a tough one.
I know.
These
are tough questions.
They are tough questions. Yeah. I would probably have to say, and this is kind of crazy, but it's The Wizard of Oz. And I still get scared by the monkeys. The monkeys.
Really? That's the thing in the movie that you're like, oh, like, nightmares.
Here they come.
They are pretty scary.
Yeah.
Oompa Loompas kind of freak me out, though. I don't know. There are a lot of things in that movie that, watching it later, and you kind of appreciate their undertones.
Right.
And there are things that you notice that you're like, whoa, how did I not have nightmares watching this as a kid?
Exactly.
So you like The Wizard of Oz?
I love The Wizard of Oz.
Okay, that's a classic. Okay, and then another tough one, your favorite music artist?
Well, as I mentioned, Lettucey. I really like her. I think she's...
I'll have to check her out.
Yeah, check her out. She's got great skills and great songwriting skills, great vocal skills, and like I said, we kind of have a similar trajectory in terms of going from a more traditional jazz performance to a more R&B.
Yeah,
neo-soul
so it kind of speaks to your own story, and you can relate to that. I can see that. And then, of course, your favorite story, whether it was, you know, sometime on the road. I know you've got some crazy travels. You've been to South Africa. You've been all over the world. What's been your favorite experience as an artist so far?
I think the experience of going to South Africa was probably my favorite. Where
did you go? Cape Town?
I went to Cape Town. And prior to going, there was a high school choir, the Bukeka High School Choir in Guguletu. And they had been listening to some of my music and wanted to actually perform with me one of the songs. And so when I got there and we went to the rehearsal hall, and you know, instant 3-part harmony.
No kidding.
Just, you know, and if you've
glorious.
Heard, yes, and if you've heard any, South African music, it's just like this. Well, this is what we do. This is how we sound every day, you know. So it was just amazing. And so then when we actually did the performance, I did a couple of songs. These are more inspirational songs. I had one of the young ladies in the choir actually take a solo piece, and she did a wonderful job. Her name is Nolufefe Masukwana.
Oh, and they've got the great names, which you love, obviously.
Yes. So we're still in touch to this day.
Oh, that's so awesome. How long ago was that?
That was in 2011.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've kept a long ongoing relationship, I guess.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of that, I know you have worked with younger artists, and you've done workshops, and you've really helped guide them on their journeys. What advice do you have for someone who is just starting off in the industry?
Well, be true to yourself. Know yourself. Know your craft. Don't try and let other people manipulate you into what they think you ought to be. Because it could very well end up that you become disconnected with yourself. And that can be very depressing, very detached when you're trying to do something that you know you love, but you can't do it in the way that you want to. I would also suggest getting people in your corner, you know, letting people know this is what I'm doing, and I want your help. I need your back. I need you to have my back, you know, and help me get into performances and help me get into different arenas, because it is a very demanding industry. And no matter where you are on the playing field, whether you're at the very bottom or whether you're at the very top, you are always trying to make sure that your name is out there with credibility and that you are doing it in a way that brings you joy. So it doesn't matter if you're Garth Brooks, I understands coming here, or just starting out. You're in a high school choir and you feel like you've got the talent and you want to go for it. But well, I
like that. I think it's an important message that you should love your craft, especially if you're doing something like this, which is it's a pretty intense industry from everyone that I've met. Well, thank you for the advice. I think that will go over well with most of our viewers or anyone out there who is starting off a career in music. And we'll be right back after this. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks. To how long I've been doing this, inspiring possibly.
Welcome back to Behind the Spotlight. It's been a pleasure having Bukeka Style in the house. We do have one more song from her, and it is called Neo Soul. Now, this is also off of your latest album.
Yes.
Which I want to know, where can we find it?
You can find it on bukekastyle.com. It'll also be, it's also available on iTunes, as well as my own social media network called faveunite.com, FAVUNITE, and cdbaby.com.
Great. So you're all over the place.
Yes.
And we've got Neo Soul by Bukeka Style. Take it away.
Thank you.
I like the way that the jazzy melody runs through my veins. How the minor notes of the blues can evoke strong feeling and causes change. How R&B has a melody that gets to me and it's just simply bold. But honey, let me tell you, nothing can compare to my neo soul. My neo soul is simply what makes me me, means meaningful and in a different key. My neo soul is more than just words to a song. It defines me and reminds me where I belong. Nothing can compare to my neo soul. My neo soul, nothing can compare to my neo soul. My neo soul, nothing can compare to my neo soul. My neo soul, nothing can compare to my neo soul. Neo soul is a way of life. I feel so right, it's who I'm meant to be. Believe me when I tell you, every genre that I sing doesn't flow so naturally. The sound is just so authentic. The meaning is so basic. Oh,